there was a report today that if they get bad news with Brock Purdy, that the Niners will give Tom Brady a call. Again, that almost feels like a threat to Brock through the media. Like, hey, bud, if you do what's best for you and you're not back in September, well, don't come back at all because we're going to get Tom Brady. There's that, right? Yeah, hey, you think about yourself and your own career, but we're going to win a Super Bowl. We're going to bring in Tom Brady. So it's up to you. You can either have a little urgency and come back and take one for the team or let Tom Brady take your title. What do you want to do? So there's that.
It's gonna be weird because from when I was I do more of the talk to agents people. I try to do that because that's the career I want to get into at the end of the day. And I was talking to someone and I was like, hey, what's your thoughts on this Brock Purdy situation? He literally was like, one, this story came out about his like intelligence, that the IQ stuff came out because Brock Purdy's camp is trying to save his value. Because if he has Tommy John, he's probably done. They're like, think about his career, right? So now it looks like that they're trying to save face in the sense of, hey,
don't forget Brock. There's something special about him that's not physical.
Exactly. Yep. So then the physical aspect is once he loses that arm strength, that's why the 49ers are kind of telling him, well, there's a chance, man. Like,
there is. There is.
Full arm strength. It's just not possible.
True. It's true.
When I was talking to his agent, he was this is what I see is like that they're coming out saying, hey, you're losing arm strength, so we're going to go this direction to either a free agent quarterback, Tom Brady. So don't even care. Hurry up and get back on the field and show us your IQ, your abilities to do what you want. So I'm just curious because I really believe the 49ers are mishandling the Brock Purdy situation. Allow him to take however long he needs. You know how good he is. And then hand over the job to Trey Lance. Don't go to Tom Brady or another free agent. See what you have in him. You might have two quarterbacks that you could eventually dump in a year or two for a lot of draft picks.
Also, what kills me is the Niners just showed that they can draft a certain type of quarterback and plug and play. He's ready to go. The rest of the league isn't even looking for this type of quarterback. Why wouldn't you try to do it again? I'm no scout, but I'm looking at the quarterbacks available this year, and I'm looking at a lot of guys who are similar to Brock Purdy. No disrespect to Brock.
Absolutely.
A lot of guys who could have success on this team. Not necessarily the Houston Texans, but if you put Hendon Hooker or DTR or Max Duggan or any number of dudes on this team, I feel like they could do a whole lot of the stuff that Brock does. No offense.
Hey, Grant, what was the 10-yard split you liked for quarterbacks that you're looking at? What was Brock Purdy?
Brock had that magic number of 155. Well, a bunch of guys matched or beat that this year. A bunch of guys.
And guess who reminds me of kind of similarities? I shouldn't say reminds me, but he has similarities of Kyle Shanahan's favorite quarterback of all time, Kirk Cousins. Clayton Tune. Oh, yeah. Go give him a watch, Grant. Clayton Tune reminds me of Kirk Cousins when he was at Michigan State. Now, afraid to put the ball in certain spots, like you're kind of like timid, but if it's wide open, he's firing it. Kind of sounds like a guy I know, Brock Purdy. Arm strength isn't completely there. Mobile in the pocket. His athleticism is there. It's not he doesn't do anything spectacular, but he's also
not a dual threat, but he's not a statue. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not the Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's more like the Brock Purdy where as soon as something breaks down, he can make something happen. That's who I think Kyle Shanahan should go after. Like, I mean, if you're going to draft a guy anyways, might as well go after a guy who has shown flashes of things. I don't know, but I feel like you're right. I think Kyle Shanahan has this, like, perspective of quarterbacks. So, like, I could do it with the 7th round pick. All right, we'll go draft another 6th round pick and see what we could do with a guy like Trey Lance at least.
Or he's going to think, like, I got to go sign Matt Ryan because he knows my system. Like, no, dude, Matt Ryan is super duper washed. What Clayton Tune was cool about him is he's not small. He's like 6'3", 220, and he did run a 4.6. He's got that nice 10-yard split. He's explosive. I mean, actually, he's a hell of an athlete. He's a 37-inch vert. He had a 6'8" three. He's a hell of an athlete. My only thing is Kyle Shanahan, to me, I think the way he scouts quarterbacks is he'll turn on their tape, and if a guy isn't under center at all in college, he won't draft him, which is a real freaking problem because not that many colleges have their quarterbacks under center anymore. I really feel that Clayton Tune played in a spread offense. Will he draft him? I don't think he will. That's my prediction right there, which is a shame because that's a guy who would fit. That's a shame. DTR, another guy he won't consider him. He'll like Tanner McKee. He'll like Stetson Bennett. He'll like Aiden O'Connell. I know. He'll like these slow, heavy-footed dudes who did play action in college. That's what he likes. Why do you telling you?
Covering Stanford, bro, McKee was one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen in a long time processing. So the fact that you say that makes me want to barf, but it makes sense.
Yeah. I really feel like he scouts the offense, not the player. And maybe it's just he feels like, look, I can't teach a quarterback to line up under center and turn his back to the defense. Maybe other guys can, but I can't. And it's so important to my offense that I need a guy who has demonstrated it. And that's to me like Kyle needs visual confirmation of a quarterback that can do a certain thing. Andy Reid had a vision. He saw Patrick Mahomes was like, okay, I'm not going to run the air raid offense, but I can sort of meet him halfway. Kyle wasn't willing to meet Patrick Mahomes halfway, so that wasn't a fit for him. That's a problem, man. Justin Fields wasn't a fit. Why did he draft Trey Lance over Justin Fields? No disrespect to Trey Lance, but if you wanted a dual threat quarterback, man, that's Justin Fields. If you wanted an actual quarterback, that's Trey Lance, but you didn't use him that way. But Trey Lance was under center in college, and Justin Fields wasn't, so Justin Fields wasn't even a consideration for Kyle Shanahan, which is crazy. All the best quarterbacks are in spread offenses now, man. None of those fit your offense. That's a problem, Kyle.
And the thing is these quarterbacks, after rep after rep after rep, they could understand how to get under center. Like look at Patrick.
You can teach it.
Look at Patrick Mahomes, bro. At Texas Tech, I don't think he took snaps under center at all.
Look at Colin Kaepernick. Harbaugh taught him. He was in the pistol. Harbaugh taught him to get under center. I mean, it took a year. Mahomes was on the bench, but like if you really want to sit a guy a year, Kyle, you can't just rule out people that are in spread offenses in 2023. That's like that's like ruling out. That's like saying in the 90s, like, man, I got to run split backs. Forget any running back who's in an I formation. What are you talking about? Everyone's in an I formation. What are you doing? Now you don't want people in shotgun spread offenses? Well, that's 75% of college football. Cool.
Absolutely. So, cool. Grant, I want to read a quote from Matt Ryan because you mentioned Matt Ryan, who Kyle might go out and sign, right? So this is a comment from Matt Ryan, I believe, right after like Kyle left, a little bit after he left. And Ryan, pretty much Ryan said Shanahan would take more time to communicate plays. And that was a problem in the offense that started sputtering in the Super Bowl. So he had these comments about the Super Bowl, right? With the way Kyle's system was set up, he took more time to call plays. And we shift in motion a lot more than we did with Dirk, which is the offensive coordinator he had after. You couldn't get out stuff like that. We talk about being the most aggressive team in football, and I'm all for it. But there's also winning time. You're not being aggressive, not running it there. Right?
And what his point was like, people were like, why didn't you change the play, Matt Ryan? Why didn't you call an audible? Well, it takes forever to get the call, and then I got to get up there, and I got to do 8 shifts. There's no freaking time. Plus, he doesn't let his quarterbacks audible. When do you ever see a quarterback do anything other than kill, can? That's all they're allowed to do.
So would a quarterback with those comments want to come back and play for Kyle, or would Kyle want to bring a quarterback that's made those comments about his aggressive offense back to the 49ers?
I don't think so. In fact, I think probably Kyle Shanahan gets a kick out of Matt Ryan's career sort of falling apart once he left. I think Kyle Shanahan sort of rests on that. Like, hey, I may not be perfect, but who had a better career after working with me? Hard to point to someone. Well, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, you're right. And that's his favorite quarterback.
Yeah, Chance Pot says if Tom Brady comes in, we might get a good O-line because he will demand that because he doesn't want to get hit. Yeah, but if Tom Brady comes in, he's going to want to change plays at the line of scrimmage. He's going to want input on the offense, and Kyle's going to say, well, I don't know what Kyle would say. I don't know. You saw Josh McDaniels got terrible reviews from his players.
Absolutely. And the thing is, though, I think at that point, Tom wouldn't even care. Tom would look over to the sideline, give him the bird mid-game, and like, I don't care what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm on the field and you're not. I'm Tom Brady and you're not. Thank you. Todd Labor says, what do you think of Stetson Bennett in the Niners offense, Marco?
I mean, I'm pretty sure Stetson's going to test very well. Very smart guy. He's 25.
Decent athlete, too.
Yeah, I mean, he has a stronger arm than people give him credit for, but he's not a gunslinger. I mean, it's kind of like what Kyle had with Brock Purdy in a sense of smaller guy. Their mobility's better.
He's smaller than Brock.
Yes, but I'm gonna say right straight up, I don't like Stetson Bennett. I think he's not a good quarterback. I mean, at Georgia, they literally ran the ball majority of the time, and he barely threw the ball. So I mean, I don't really like him, but he would fit Kyle's offense because Kyle's gonna scheme stuff open just like he did with Brock.
I would rather go. I feel like Hendon Hooker is. I mean, if you're looking for old quarterbacks who are 25,
That's
man,
who you go.
Hendon Hooker's always been good. He's always been efficient. I feel like that's going to be that second round pick that you look back and be like, well, actually, he probably should have been a first round pick. He might go
The
to a
reason why he's not going to be a first though, Grant, is because of the
got hurt
ACL injury and then
for sure.
the age.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, all these quarterbacks have questions to me. What Aru Luster says, trying to find the right quarterback for the system and not adapting the system to the quarterback severely limits the talent pool. That's what I'm saying, man. That's why I look at Philly and I'm like, you know what? I kind of like what they're doing, because what they're doing is they're trying to meld NFL offenses with college offenses. And if you can do that, that opens up a whole world to you. Now you can draft Ohio State players and Oklahoma and your USC, and all the best players are on offense are available to you.
And
Whereas Kyle's looking for throwbacks.
And if you look at the great offensive minds in the NFL right now, you look at guys like Andy Reid, you look at Nick Sirianni, not necessarily, I want to say Kyle, because Kyle is not doing it. But if you look at the guys that are legit competing every year, Josh Allen, I wouldn't necessarily say his offense coordinator, he's running the show there. But if you look at them, they're getting whoever doesn't fit their system, molding it around them. So whoever takes like the Anthony Richardsons of the draft this year, that's going to be whoever takes them is going to be smart, because they're going to mold their offense around him and say, hey, I know you did this great, XYZ great in college. Now we'll let you do that, and we'll kind of start implementing in year 2 the NFL-like stuff. So I think he's, you know.
And like, if your offense is college style enough, you can make it work with Anthony Richardson as he gets more reps as a passer. Like, I keep thinking, let's say he goes to Indianapolis. I think that'd be perfect for him.
Perfect.
They just hired Philly's offensive coordinator. They have Jonathan Taylor. Can you imagine an RPO zone read offense with those two? I mean, they'd be the best rushing. They would just, the baseline would be the best running attack in the league. And then if he could complete 55% of his passes, that's a dangerous offense. And he would theoretically improve from there. So it's like, if you're a new coach with job security, how do you not take that risk? Because even if you get it wrong, you could take a quarterback next year, man. There's no harm, no foul.
That's the thing, is like, if you don't have a quarterback, if you're not if you don't have your franchise, if you don't have the Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen's, Joe Burrows of the world, every year you should be drafting a guy until you get your guy. Like, for example, whatever team drafts Caleb Williams, I guarantee you they're not looking at Caleb Williams like, well, doesn't take snaps from under center that much.
Yeah.
His footwork is terrible. I mean, he doesn't throws off platform to it. Like, if they're doing that, like what Kyle did to Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and those guys,
Justin Fields,
you got an issue. Like, you really do have an issue.
Yeah. And look, honestly, with Kyle Shanahan, a lot of people say that he's a great coach and he does a lot of things very well, but he's always going to be a contender and never a champion if he can't figure out the quarterback position. And boy, if you look at him and his dad, ever since John Elway retired, Kyle and Mike have been floundering at the most important position. The two of them.
No, I agree.
They could put together a team though, but not that.
But the thing is that we could talk about Kyle as being a great coach, but a great coach, Grant, to me, doesn't have his players dictate who he plays and dictate.
Good point.
Because if that was the case, I guarantee you, if we go back to Philly, right? If we go back to Josh Allen's time, his rookie year, and we were to ask those players what they thought, they're going to say, well, this quarterback had flashes. He had flashes, but he's not doing good. We're not getting the results we want. However, those coaches stuck with those players. So, for example, when Trey Lance beat out Jimmy Garoppolo his rookie year, he should have started. The fact that Kyle went to players and was like, hey, who do you want to play with? Mm-hmm. To me, that's where it separates the great and the elite coaches with the coaches that are you're a really good coach because you know how to win, you know how to set up a team.
Also, remember, Jim Harbaugh wanted to transition from Alex Smith to Colin Kaepernick. Smith got hurt. Kaepernick came in, played well. Smith got healthy. Harbaugh stuck with Kaepernick. That was who he wanted to transition to. A lot of the players, same situation. Friends with Alex Smith. Thought it wasn't fair. You don't lose your job to an injury. Harbaugh said, you know what? I'm making the decision. I'm the coach here. And you guys are going to get in line. You know what? They did. They did. And you know what? It was the right decision for that team. So I don't see Kyle Shanahan doing that with his guys.
And that's the issue. To me, to be honest with you, Grant, that's the issue. The fact that you're allowing because to be honest, what he's doing is he's allowing for his players to do. He's allowing that locker room to divide. Okay, you're either this side of the locker room, you're a Trey guy. This side, you're a Brock guy. This side, you're a Jimmy guy. That's what he's allowed his players to do instead of saying, "Hey, this is this is our quarterback, and you're gonna like it. And if you don't like it, the door's right there, and we're willing to trade you. If you're a George Kittle's, the Juices, or whatever the hell it may be, if we're willing to get good capital for you, oh well, we'll replace you because you're replaceable." For example,
and the whole idea of moving on from Jimmy is that, you know, good quarterbacks aren't good enough. We know that the Niners can win a lot of games with physically limited quarterbacks. They've proven it with multiple guys, Jimmy and Brock. The whole idea is if you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to sort of commit to the long view and develop someone with super premium traits. And what's interesting is, like, it seemed like Kyle understood that for like a second, but then he reverted back to his comfort zone, which is, let me just win games with someone who knows my system, which is unfortunate. At the end of the Super Bowl, when the Chiefs won again, there was a really interesting moment where Andy Reid's being interviewed on television by Steve Young, and Steve's like, "What did you learn from this whole experience, yada, yada, yada?" And Andy Reid says, "You know what? I'm important. Our coaching staff is important. But what I've learned through the years is you need one of you." And he points at Steve. "You need one of you." And Steve's like, "Oh, shucks," and starts blushing. But you'd never hear Kyle say that. You would never hear him say that. He'll say like, "Oh, you know," he would praise every player on his team before he praised his quarterback. It's a different mentality with Kyle.
Bro, Kyle blamed
yeah
the injury initially on Brock Purdy.
Yes, he
and
did.
Then he ends up changing it up, saying, "You know what? It was just a freak."
It happens. And it happens. It's no one's fault.
Same thing with Trey. He blamed it on Trey at first. And then he's like, "Well, he's a dual threat." Like, so that's what I'm saying. He'll never take the blame as like the great head coaches. They'll take the blame. Man, you know what? That was my fault. And he's
because what the great head coaches understand is that the most important person in the organization is the quarterback. Now, you can't take it to an extreme like Russell Wilson, where he gets his own office and he's detached from the team. But still, you're the most important person. Not the coach. Coach is number 2. Quarterback's number 1. But Kyle can't live in that world. He can't. He's got to be number 1. It's got to be Kyle Shanahan featuring the quarterback, not the quarterback featuring Kyle Shanahan. You know what I'm saying? And that's a problem.
It's because Kyle has this like major fantasy of playing quarterback.
Yes, he does.
Like, that's, to me, that's what I see, man. Like, at the end of the day, is Kyle really had an obsession with football, which if you have to have it to be a head coach. But he had an obsession.
Not just coaching, playing.
You're right.
Not just coaching, playing.
Because
he wants to be friends with the players. He saw himself as a player. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he wanted to be a quarterback, but he didn't have the stature, didn't have everything. And then becoming a receiver, his best friend was the quarterback at Texas. To me, it's just very weird. Don't get me wrong, he's a great head coach. I think he's one of the top 5 head coaches in the NFL. But I think there's the difference between the top 3 head coaches and then 4 and 5 right now. Like, those other guys, they've understood you have to develop a quarterback, and those quarterbacks are the team. You're not.
Yeah, thank you very much. Fish and Chip says the head coach is the reason we are a step behind. It's an interesting conundrum because he built all this. You know, This is his team. It's not John Lynch's team. It's a great team to cover. Were you nervous about going 4K with your face the way it is? Yeah, I'm ugly as hell, man. Thank you very much, PIVC. But, you know, I do what I can. Fish and Chip says, not a BP guy or a Trey Lance guy. I'm a Niner guy, period. Yeah, if only more players on the team were like you.